Psalm 77, verse 19 through 20. Your way was through the sea, your path through the mighty waters, yet your footprints were unseen. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. The psalmist praises to God, hearkening back to the Exodus story. God led Israel out of Egypt and freed them from bondage and slavery. Israel was God's people, is God's people, and Yahweh is their God. This Exodus story is unspeakably important to Israel. The Jews understand themselves as the product of this narrative. I mean, their very existence hinges on this story, the story of God's election and liberation. Israel's identity is contingent on Exodus. They have no understanding of themselves without it. And this is constantly on their memory. God led them out of Egypt into the Promised Land. That's a really big deal. I dare you to find 10 consecutive chapters of the Old Testament that don't make a single reference to this Exodus story. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in the Old Testament. They're constantly calling back to it, reminding Israel of who they are and what God has done. We Christians, we also share in this story. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, God has grafted us in. We too are God's people. But we must never forget that our salvation comes from the Jews. Thus, the Exodus story stands imperative for us as well. So pay attention. Pay close attention when the psalmist talks about Moses, talks about God freeing Israel from bondage. This is a pivotal moment in our salvation history. The psalmist writes, "You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron." Israel is God's flock. We are God's flock. The shepherd protects the flock, cares for it, leads it. Jesus is our shepherd. As he says so himself in the Gospel according to John, "I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep." Jesus laid down his life for the flock. He died for us, the flock. But Jesus did not stay dead. No, God resurrected the Son. And we, the church, must follow this resurrected Son. For he is the good shepherd. We follow his voice. He is our shepherd. Of all the shepherds that we could have been stuck following, the good one, God incarnate, called out to us and said, "Follow me." So we as Christians, we must follow the good shepherd wherever he may lead. And oh, the many places that Jesus may lead. Jesus might lead you just about anywhere, and you ought to follow. Jesus may lead you into the depths of darkness, to a place of persecution and oppression, to enemy territory, or maybe just somewhere you don't want to go, or somewhere you don't feel safe going. Jesus can take you anywhere, but you are still called to follow. The Psalm 77, reminds us of that time when God led his people through the sea. God's path was through the mighty waters. In case you haven't noticed, this sounds a little bit ludicrous. I mean, God led Israel through the sea? Wait a second, what? Why would God do that? How does God do that? We don't walk through the sea. I mean, we're people. People